Today, we'll be talking about the album Lush by Snail Mail. Snail Mail is the musical brainchild of Lindsay Jordan. Born and raised in Baltimore, she's been releasing music under the Snail Mail banner since 2015. Initially releasing EPs and cassettes, and more recently a debut full-length album, Lush, released through independent record label Matador Records. Branded as an indie rock prodigy by Rolling Stone magazine, she's gained a loyal fan base and performed hundreds of shows across the globe. I'm personally a big fan of her music and style, which is why I've chosen Lush as our topic of conversation today. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the show. This is Lush by Snail Mail.
You're listening to Between the Tracks, a book club but for music. Join the conversation at tracks.show.
Alright then, come on Bunty. Let's go. Yeah man, we're on.
Podcast time.
Right.
Get your headphones on.
All right, give it some. I'm in.
Alright, yeah. Hello everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of a new podcast that we're going to be putting together. It's a music podcast. We'll bring in one album or project or EP per week, chosen by the three of us on a rotational thing. So I've picked this week, Chris will pick next week, and Charlie will pick the week after. Kind of like a book club, but for albums is the idea that we're running with. And so, yeah, in terms of introductions, my name's Carl Lewis. This is Charlie Fowler.
Hello, Carl.
And this is Chris Albunte Bunt.
Hi, Carl.
And so, yeah, I picked this week's album, which is Lush by Snail Mail, which we'll get into in a second. We'd love to have everyone kind of get involved and make this more of an open conversation. So if anyone does want to leave some comments or their own takes on the album, that would be good. As it moves forward, we'll announce each album a week in advance, so you can go away, have a listen, get your own kind of feelings on it, and then come in and we'll all talk through it together. So yeah, with that being said, let's go straight in with track 1, which in this case is an intro, and it's called Intro. So yeah, here we go. All right.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Here we go.
So intro, track 1.
It's a nice start, that.
It's good, isn't it?
I like
Sets the
it.
scene.
It really does. Do you know much about this album, Carl?
Yeah.
This was your pick, so...
I'd listened through it a bunch of times and really enjoyed it. But I hadn't really dug into who she was or they were and really gotten to know any of the background. I just knew that I really liked it.
How did you discover it? What was how were you introduced to Snail Mail?
I discovered it through a friend. He sent me Heatwave as a track. And in fact, I heard it at his house a long time ago. And he sent it to me because I asked him who it was. And went back and through that, found the album, found the artist, and kind of took it from there.
Sweet.
Like it a lot.
Yeah, it's good. I do like intros in albums. I think it's a good way of setting it up. I think if it went straight in with track 2, it would be less impactful. I think it's good to kind of have something that sets the scene, you know?
Agreed. Yeah, I'm all for that. And yeah, I think it does a really good job of that. It sort of puts a feeling out there, puts a theme out there. It doesn't continue along this path, I don't think. This sort of proper strip back thing, but
Yeah.
it is definitely a nice step into it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was it's the last note of that intro, and it feels like it's swelling up.
Oh, it does.
When it
Yeah, it
starts
does
to
that.
rile, yeah.
And it feels like I'm looking at it from a live point of view. I think that would be such a good intro to the show. Obviously, it's the first track on the album, but it would be so good
Yeah.
as the first song in her show.
So I was looking at this and looking at the lyrics and things, and it's worth noting now early on that we get back to this on track 10
Yeah.
with Any Time. I don't know what you've discovered about the lyrics necessarily, because it's not an entire. It's almost like a cutback verse, a cutback chorus, half and half. What I love about it is that in the intro, so in track 1, we only focus on the sort of they're looking at the other person, that she's singing about the other person.
So it's all addressed to the other person.
Yeah, addressed to them. Whereas when we get to Anytime, the verses are sort of more drawn out and they're extended, and they start talking about the point of view from her, the first person point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's cool because it sounds from her really, in the intro, it sounds really bitter. It sounds really sort of, I don't know, just aggressive, more angry.
Yeah, more confrontational.
Yeah, whereas at the end we get more rounded out and we get more warmth, I think. Yeah. But obviously we can hang on to that. But I was thinking about why though you would want to start an album with an intro that's returned to. Is there? I don't even know if there's that many. Does that many albums do that?
I don't think I know of any that. I mean, there's quite a lot of albums that do return to certain moments throughout the album. Can't think of an example, but yeah, but never really that kind of bookend philosophy of topping and tailing with something almost the same.
But it's a cool way to make that album a big circle, I think.
Yeah. It gives it its own cadence that it kind of.
I think so.
Yeah, a journey.
Yeah. There are some differences between them too. The intro and track 10, Anytime. They are in a different key. The way that she sings it, this feels a lot more. I mean, she's singing in a higher register in this anyway, a lot higher, which I think feels a little more tense. And then when we get back down to the what I would imagine is the original key, I don't know. It sounds more manageable, and again sounds a lot warmer and more approachable.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
that's
it's interesting.
just my idea of it. That's just what I hear in it.
I also thought that this, I don't know what you guys think, but I thought this might be maybe a polished version of the demo of this track, or an introduction as her as a songwriter.
Yeah.
And quite a good way of leading into an album. I mean, I don't know what's to come. I didn't know what was to come when I was listening to it the first time, and I thought, you know, maybe she's building up and showing us where she started it all with her and her guitar.
I mean, I'm staring at the artwork anyway, and she's like front and center on the artwork.
Well, there you bloody go.
I know. Yeah, it's all me, baby.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is her. It is Lindsay Jordan's.
It's her project. Yeah, she writes the songs, takes them to the band, and then they kind of go from there.
Yeah.
She has them write parts to her ready finished songs. So yeah. But let's push on. Let's move into track 2, because this is where the album kind of opens up into more full length songs. So here's track 2. This is Pristine. Track 2, Pristine.
Man, it's good.
It's
What
good, isn't
a
it?
banger.
And this is one of the singles from the album as well.
Is this the first single?
First single.
Yeah, first single.
Straight
And
out of the
then-
gate.
Was it this and then Heatwave and then Let's Find It Out, or was it?
That's how I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. But that is
great
what
song.
an amazing first single from an album. It's like it's almost I don't if I should say flawless or not, I don't know, but it's up there.
I think the intention was that she wanted everything to be flawless. Yeah, but it's coming out swinging.
It's coming
Track
out
number
swinging. For me, though, I was in the mind that this might go into surf rock kind of feel, which I love, and I know, you know.
Do you surf, Charlie?
I
surfer.
write
You're not
those
getting away with
tunes.
this.
He catches tubes.
I love any kind of music that transports me to any place that feels like it's kind of fresh sea air and stuff like that. And I don't know, this made me feel like this on this track. This made me feel like this on this track.
That'll do.
Cool. But then about halfway through the song, I was thinking, this is too neat for surf rock. This is too polished. This is too thought out.
But still very cool.
But still very cool.
Elevated above, I think.
Yes.
There was also some talk. Where did I see this? I've got it listed here somewhere. I think it was in Vice. That they did take in a song and use that as a reference point for this song. It was a Sonic Youth song called Incinerate. And if you go back to Incinerate and listen to it, there definitely is that. And I think there is that sort of 90s shoegazy, noisy sort of stuff in there. I know that she also talks a bit about My Bloody Valentine in a Fender video. She goes on about sort of like the anger meeting with the sweetness, I think. I think that's how she phrases it.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's cool. And I think that's definitely what we get to in some of this stuff. Melodies are really sweet, sometimes ramping into something that's a bit more aggressive musically, or with the way that she does speak and the way that she does deliver some of the lines, they sound quite throwaway in a sort of in a dismissive way.
Yeah, especially with the repetitive use of anyways. Yeah, she kind of rounds off a lot of sentences with anyways, and it's kind of like a confrontation, but then she feels like she's overexposed herself and then kind of pulls back. And then at the end of the song, it gets really confrontational.
That really is like a script more so than some lyrics.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
And she does that quite a few times, doesn't she? Like throughout the album,
she does, and she goes through different emotional stages of kind of being really confident and confronting the person, and then pulling back into almost desperation. Like towards the end of this song, it goes into lines like, "It doesn't have to be this hard. I can be anyone." Yeah, she kind of starts just begging almost, and so she definitely in each song and also in the album as a whole goes through a lot of emotional kind of journeys.
Sure. I know that when she was writing Pristine, in particular, she was referencing the way that she used to write, maybe on the stuff that came out on the Habit EP that came before this. I think that was 2015, perhaps that was released. And the point of Pristine is that it's supposed to be melodramatic. She does say that in an interview with The Independent. She says, Pristine is very self-deprecating, sarcastic, and melodramatic. I don't want to put myself in a place in a song that's pathetic. It's good to be vulnerable, but not pathetic. And then later on in another interview, she says that that's a direct response to that EP. So all of that sort of eye-rolling sort of approach with that, I think, is supposed to sound...
Okay, so she's leaning into the idea of
Yeah, and it being a bit overblown, which is really self-aware to almost be calling out the record that came before it, I think.
Yeah, right.
And especially at that age, because at 18 I was probably more of an emotional wreck, and
still are.
And definitely not that self-aware, because this doesn't sound melodramatic to me as an 18-year-old. This sounds like me as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Probably making the wrong decisions in love and things like that.
As we all did.
What a cool first single.
And I think we definitely need to talk about the outro to the track.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes a whole new kind of more intense direction.
Yeah, like the bridge drops right down, and then slowly sort of builds upon that. And I think that's where for me, I wanted to find somewhere in the album that wasn't a lead single that I really loved and I thought was possibly the best. This isn't my favorite song on the album, I don't think. It's up there, but it might be drawing for my favorite album. It might be in joint first. But I think she sounds the best on the album during this outro, during that bridge into the outro.
Yeah, it's pretty emotional. It's a goosebump moment.
Yeah. I get it. I get those goosebumps. I didn't have goosebumps. I mean, I didn't have them on the early listens. Which I guess if you've never heard a song, I
think that's quite unnatural, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get goosebumps later on.
It's only every now and then that you get a full kind of goosebump moment from a first listen.
Yeah, but I had to get this album in me a lot. I had to get it going through my mind until that sort of opened up in my mind. And now every time I listen to Pristine, every time I get to that bit, who do you change for, the way she drops the lyrics at the end of that line, every time I get it, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible end or beginning of an end to a song.
Yeah. She's fantastic at controlling the emotions and hitting the beats at the right times.
Yeah.
She knows exactly how to play people's emotions.
So a great song, which is it's playing around with different sides of an emotional coin, really. And I mean, all of these songs are relationship based for the most part. I think they all 10 of them probably are.
All of them are, yeah. And I think I read in a article that she basically had all the songs written but with no names until the whole thing was mastered.
Right.
At that point, she give them all names. Up until that point, it was just people's names, like people she'd written the individual songs about.
Right.
It's quite interesting. So I initially thought it was an album about one particular relationship or a couple, but it seems that wasn't so.
So smashing start, I'd say.
Good start. Yeah,
happy to
yeah.
go on if you want to go on.
Yeah,
to
let's move on. This is track number 3, Speaking Terms.
Don't see you now. Wait, don't just give up.
Okay, that was Speaking Terms, track 3.
For me, this was don't know what you guys think, but much more traditional songwriting. I feel like the mood, the lyrics, and everything followed each other. Everything felt more like a traditional song, rather than maybe, from what we've heard earlier, some kind of unique ideas that she was having. Not to call this not unique, but I think it just felt more traditional than what we've had before these tunes.
I mean, I'm looking at it on the page, and it does look like that.
Yeah.
Which is also not a bad thing to have interspersed throughout the album, because if anyone does drift away when things get slightly more off the wall, a straight down the line, really well written, structured song does pull you back in. I do like that. Yeah, I think it's quite ironic. One thing I did notice is that I really struggled to pick the lyrics out of this song. For a song called Speaking Terms, I think it's quite ironic that you can't really make it out.
I suppose that's what I'm talking about as well. Like when you have something that's straight down the line, sometimes it can all form one sound.
That's a good point, actually.
And I feel like that might be, I don't know.
Could just be getting lost in the...
Yeah. And I don't know if that, not to take away from the songwriting in this at all, but that's exactly what it did for me.
Mm-hmm. It definitely gathers some direction. Like it goes into about 2 minutes into the track, it dips down into a kind of ethereal soundscape breakdown thing, which I really like. But yeah, as a whole, generally quite down the line, but in that...
Yeah. When we were approaching the time to do this podcast, I think I was quite dismissive in my mind about this song. But actually, probably in the last couple of days... I reckon this has crept up for me a little bit. I do like the space in it.
Yeah.
I really do like that.
Yeah.
It's quite hypnotic in a way.
Yeah, there's a nice, like the guitar tone is just right. And there's a lot of room to breathe in it.
She's very particular about tones and guitar tones. And I read in an interview that when it came to recording the album, everything was played in clean.
Right.
There was no
That's
kind of
interesting.
effects at that point. It was all very clean. And then it was produced into something more raw and more and less polished. But yeah, she was very deliberate in how she wanted things to be recorded.
Okay.
Live, she uses her Jaguar, right? Her Fender Jag.
Yeah.
I wonder if, she's obviously very particular about tone, I wonder if it was all recorded on that guitar as well.
She strikes me as one of those people because a long, long time ago, there was a NPR, she was interviewed by this guy and she was making like an omelet or something with him, like breakfast. And afterwards she did...
Sorry, I wasn't expecting you to say that she was making an omelette with him.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, to throw you off. But that was it. Yeah, this guy had like a show. It was like cooking with Barry or whatever his name was. And afterwards, she did a couple of songs, like session for him. And it was just her and an amplifier, but it was that guitar.
Her amplifier and an omelette.
Amplifier and an omelette, yeah. Amplifier and frying pan. And that was way earlier in the days of Snail Mail. And she still had that red guitar. I assume she has one of those people who has a deep relationship with the guitar and kind of plays it on everything and takes it
I wonder
everywhere.
if it's got a bloody name.
Probably.
It probably does, yeah.
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 Any guesses?
Omelette.
It's not. Probably omelette.
Omelette. Go and get omelette for me out of my case.
Someone tune my omelette.
The lyrical content of this song seems to be about a place, like about situational, if you know what I mean, in the world. With the sort of move from your old house and this city can be so loud. So there's definitely that location-based aspect to this song. And she's from Baltimore. She gives it quite a good review, Baltimore. She talks about it quite highly. And I think she respects that maybe Baltimore isn't, at least in the way that she talks about it in a particular interview that I read about. She does I think she likes the unadulterated part of Baltimore in that you wouldn't necessarily say all your favorite bands come from Baltimore.
Yeah.
But I think those that do, I think she really appreciates. And I think that neutral playing field for, I don't think I'm making a very good point there, am I?
No, you are. I think she does love the place. And I know that in an interview I read that she moved to Brooklyn in New York. And then I think she survived like 2 weeks and then came straight back to Baltimore.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think she does have a lot of love for the place.
Yeah.
And for home. And she's still, I'm not sure if that's the case now, but in a lot of the articles I was reading, she still lived at home with her parents. And was very much a kind of homely person,
Yeah.
family
Funny
life.
that some artists go one way or the other in that sense of like some people move to like New York City and they're like,
Yeah.
cool,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
giving me all of those things I need in my writing. And some people are like, fuck this. I need
Yeah.
to get back
Yeah.
to the places that made me want to start writing.
Exactly. Billie Eilish still lives at home, as far as I
There
know.
you go.
Yeah,
I mean, she's probably got loads of homes now.
probably. Yeah.
For those of you listening at home, if you do want to check out a Baltimore artist, I would suggest Future Islands and go and watch the way that the lead singer dances, because he is an incredible dancer. I think his name's Sam
Sam the Dancer, right?
Sam the Dancer was his birth name, but then he changed it to, I think, Samuel Herring, I think his name
Samuel
is.
Herring, big fish guy.
And he
yeah?
does a lot of grunting, man. He does a lot of grunting. He is a force to be reckoned with, but incredible.
Great. Let's move on, I say. This is track 4, Heatwave.
And I hope whoever it is holds their breath around you, 'cause I know I did.
God, it's good, isn't it?
It is really good.
This
do
got me
love it.
going, this tune.
It's so good, man. It really does get me, this one.
Ready for a useless fact?
Let's go.
You know I love
Charlie's
'em.
useless fact of the week.
Here we go. This is the third track in a row that's around 120 BPM, which I thought was quite interesting because a slow start to the album and now we're up tempo.
consistent tempo,
and we're at a
yeah.
consistent tempo.
It surprises me that speaking terms speaking terms being such a kind of less produced song and a bit more space in it, still at the same tempo.
Still the same tempo.
Quite interesting.
Yeah. It's funny that different like ways of writing can make the tempo feel different.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
Stay tuned for some more useless facts.
Thank you, Charlie. Over to Charlie for the useless fact of the week.
Charlie doing the numbers over there.
Crunching the numbers.
But yeah, like I said in the top, this is the first song that got me into the band. It's definitely as soon as I heard it, I knew I loved it. It gives me that, like, I love the line heat wave, nothing to do. I think it reminds me, because I definitely romanticize the idea of summer. And whenever I get there, I'm sometimes like, oh, bit bored, really, not much to do. It's like we always look back at that time of year as the time we do everything and the time we enjoy ourselves the most. But really, it's just kind of,
You don't ever see Carl in summer.
Yeah.
He's nowhere to be seen. We're all out at the beach and old boys inside in the shade somewhere.
Yeah.
well, maybe, yeah. I am the Prince of Darkness.
He really is. He really is.
The Prince of Darkness.
When you're younger, right, you know that the temperature of the world is going up and stuff, and we're having like the
Yeah, we
biggest
are
we are in the having
Destroying the planet slowly.
yeah, we're having heat waves that are the hottest we've ever had and stuff. Didn't it all feel hotter when you're a kid though?
I feel like it did, yeah.
For sure. That's
Yeah.
probably because you're running about like a
Is
maniac.
it because you're less lazy when you're a kid and you're like, let's go and find some water and jump in it?
Yeah, I think we just had so much more, we were having so much more fun that we didn't have to complain about things like it being too hot. I think it was like, yeah, we had much more things to be doing.
The only thing you could complain about is whether or not someone's broken your Stretch Armstrong or something.
Of course,
Oh,
yeah.
that's a
In fact,
terrible
we
thing.
did have a conversation recently about, as a kid, which toy did you desperately try to break and which was the most difficult? And we all agreed that it was
Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah. So whenever we get our first true fan of this podcast, if they send us a
Send us a
Stretch
video,
no, send us a Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah. Oh,
And,
yeah.
and then we'll immortalize that person somehow.
yeah.
But we could
We'll
do
just
with this,
name it after
we
them.
could do with a Stretch Armstrong.
Okay, there you go. Let's set up an Amazon wish list with just a Stretch Armstrong on it.
And an OnlyFans for Carl.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Prince of Darkness.
The Darkness, the OnlyFans, $4.99 a month for all the dark and weird pictures you need.
Carl, can you turn the light up in there? No, I can't.
Absolutely not. Unsubscribe now. There's your money back.
Moving on from the childhood theme though, I felt like this track when I listened to it made me think about the old kind of coming of age films. And I thought that this might be like a modern day soundtrack to that. Like if you look back at American Pie or something
Yeah.
like that, of our coming of age films,
Right. The ones that have aged really terribly now.
the films that have done terribly in their aging process, I feel like this track in a modern day film would have made me feel all those things
Yeah,
again.
for sure.
Big time. Yeah, it does have that. And it has a, like a nostalgic feel to it,
Definitely.
which for me is like, nostalgia is almost a form of sadness sometimes when you listen to something like this and it raises up those nostalgic
Yeah,
emotions.
yeah.
You look back on a time where life was much more simple and
It does feel like
Definitely.
it feels like youth, you know.
yeah, the times that in the moment you didn't realize were the most simple times of your life until
Yeah.
you get to now and look
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
We've agreed on the toy that we would destroy.
Yeah.
What was, I reckon we might agree on our favourite lyric of this as well. See if we're all the same on this. Because
I've got two. Mine are two recurring themes. The first one is the I hope whoever it is holds their breath around you.
Yeah, I'm going.
And then
I'm
return
going on
to with I hope the love that you find swallows you wholly.
Yeah.
That's just.
I'm with you on that. So good.
Yeah, that rises up a tiny little misspent youth teenager inside me, and he's crying his eyes out to that.
He's crying his green eyes out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Deep cut reference.
I'm just looking at that line.
Are you?
It
Yeah.
says green eyes. That's
What if it said like banana sausage? Would you still read it?
He's crying his banana sausages out of his pants.
Yeah. Music videos worth mentioning. She's running around in an ice rink, hitting hockey pucks at men.
Yeah.
And I know she was
right in the chops.
right in the chops. Yeah, right in the kisser. And she was on a boys hockey team when she was younger.
Man,
So
she's good. She's really good at it.
She's great. She's on the ice in the video, and she is gunning it.
Yeah.
She was running fast. So.
I believe that is a traditional.
Did they say gunning?
They
I think
say
it is.
gunning on there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it might be in the. Is that in the Western
It's
Cape? I think that
yeah,
league
the
is where they say gunning.
Western Cape.
The Western Cape
The
Hockey
Western Cape.
League.
Yeah, exactly.
Gunning it. Yeah.
I think that's what they say.
I think so. I think again, maybe it's with because they're singles. Perhaps they are. I feel like they're latching onto something, and this goes back to that '90s thing again. Like now, like especially with that, there's that solo, like guitar solo towards the start. We're gonna call it guitar solo. It's quite short, but it's a
like
little
a lead break. Yeah.
But that sounds for me that was Dinosaur Jr. Then as soon as I heard it, like it was fuzzy. 90s era.
It's one of those things that you could never play twice, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
also like Jack White style of just a kind of the noise and the texture of it is more important than what's being played. So it's just a kind of
Totally.
really nice little placeholder.
Love it. I mean, it really fits in. I think. I mean, that's all being done anyway. A lot, I think. That sort of 90s aesthetic, American aesthetic.
Yeah, in a good way. It's not
yeah,
it's not being repetitive on a time gone by. It's a rebirth of
I think so.
a really good genre. Yeah,
and I'll stand by that. I think it comes from the right place. I don't think it doesn't seem out of place. It doesn't seem convoluted or anything. And yeah,
I think it's a good time for music, and in the respect that this stuff is getting more of a platform than ever, and
For sure.
and really kind of coming back towards the mainstream. And again, towards the end of the song in this one, she does that classic Lindsay Jordan thing of having a really emotional, goosebump, builded ending into a plateau out. I think she's just so good at dynamics.
Yeah.
So good at hitting
endings
the right notes.
for her are a thing. I think.
Yeah.
The way a lot of these songs end are so interesting, and a lot of them do ramp up into an ending. I think they do have a full blown outro, a proper outro.
Definitely, especially and normally kind of preceded by some sort of bridge or breakdown.
Yeah.
And then out into a kind of climactic crescendo ending.
Yeah.
Crescending.
Yeah.
Crescending.
This
The
is-
musical.
But this has been this is an awesome second single though.
Sure.
As instantaneous as Pristine, I think.
Yeah. Definitely.
You know, if you can hear that for the first time, you're going to go, well, what's that about?
Yeah.
Let's have some more of Snail Mail.
Exactly,
I think.
yeah.
And
Speaking
let's
of having more of
have-
Snail Mail, let's move on
Oh.
to track. Sorry about that, everyone.
These are rehearsed.
Let's move on to track 5. This is Stick.
Things work out for you, or are you still not sure what that means? And it's a hard trip to the kitchen sink.
Track 5, Stick.
Welcome back to my useless facts.
Charlie's useless facts.
And here we go. Did you guys know that this was the longest track on the album? Coming in at 5 minutes, 13 seconds.
That's a worse fact.
Fascinating.
One single cricket.
One cricket. It's giving you one little scrape.
Jeez.
What does that mean, Charlie?
It means nothing, Chris, but I thought it was interesting somehow.
It's good to know.
Oh,
You know,
it's 10
if you're
track.
ever in a really obscure pub quiz in Baltimore, this might come up.
If you're in Baltimore and you're in the pub quiz and you're looking for the longest track of this record, it's Stick.
And the whole band are in the back corner on a table. Yes, one about Snail Mail.
Yes, there we
I
go.
swear it's
Yeah.
5 minutes 13.
And we're going to do the numbers. Coming in last place is the team Snail Mail with 1 point.
So what you're saying is we've got one song that's the longest on the album. That's what we're saying.
This album
Yeah.
does have a song that is the longest.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us know, Charles.
I wonder what the shortest is.
welcome.
I wonder what the shortest is.
I should have that written down. I don't.
I know what it is.
I'm going to go the intro.
I was going to say off the cuff. That really small start. That's
yeah,
probably
the really
it.
short song at the start
Oh,
is probably the
Fuck
shortest
you
song, yeah.
guys.
I'll go in on stick and say that this is actually my favourite song. I think.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, man. Yeah.
It's
Which is
pretty
unlike
good.
me. It's unlike me, this sort of song. But it's up. Well, no, it's on. Sorry, it's joint first with Pristine for me. I love it. I think the melodies are great. I think the melodies are awesome in the song. I just love its. I love that. I love its structure. It does this cool sort of post-chorus thing. That's actually where the
Is that the "Did you tell all your friends" part?
yeah.
Yeah.
All of your friends.
Yeah.
You don't mind
Incredible.
if I?
Yeah.
You don't mind if I try and launch
Lovely
my?
demo.
Do you mind if I try and launch my own music career?
No,
So
go for it.
this is the
actually.
platform for it.
Yeah, this is it.
As long as all your songs are 5:13, I'm in.
Who releases an album of songs that are all the same length? Does anybody do that?
Probably Charlie Fowler, really.
I have a few.
Yeah, that's a more interesting fact than if you've got one longest song on an album.
Oh,
I could imagine you being like a record label executive, like at a desk with a cigar in your mouth and a suit on, and someone coming in and be like, "Here's our EP." It's like, "Are they all 5 minutes and 38 seconds?" No,
they're not. I
Get
don't
the hell
wanna
out of
see
my
it.
office. Get go.
No, but she does some of those things that I really enjoy across this song that appear elsewhere in the album. So it's that conversational thing, some really good lyric stuff that I like. They're sort of barbed in a way. They're a little bit bitey. There's the bit in the post-chorus. The post-chorus I just adore. I think it's great. Where she begins with "What is it about them?" and then she says, "What is it with them?" I just love that. I love that switch.
In 2 lines, it shifts the whole dynamic.
And then at the end of that line, she does this.
oh, like
yeah,
a throwaway.
It's very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? I was definitely drawn in lyrically to this tune more than any of the previous songs. And talking about kind of the phrasing, the way she phrases her lyrics. And I always find that at the end of a phrase is where she kind of throws it away, as you guys are describing
100%.
it. And that was like, okay, I understand her style now.
A signature move.
Her
yeah.
signature move.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
not hanging on that note, actually just going,
tossing
Yeah,
it away.
yeah.
And I thought that was so
It
cool.
has a purposeful laziness to it.
yeah.
Also, sorry, you go.
No, go on.
I thought it was really interesting the lack of vocal harmony. And we all we all
Yeah.
love a bit of harmony.
Yeah, we're
think
suckers
it's
for
fair to say.
harmony, actually.
But it's just her vocal in this tune.
Yeah.
And I thought for a track that's down tempo and opens out more, it was really interesting that she didn't thicken any of her points or parts of the song with harmony to reinforce some of her like, lyrics or anything like that.
Yeah, it can draw you in there. Like I think most of the album, there's not much of any backing vocals or harmony, and I think that's done on purpose. I think it's a hangover from a kind of just her and a guitar singer-songwriter days, and also it's a lot more endearing for the listener if you're going to be so emotional and so open with your kind of emotions in the content. I think having just one down the middle vocal is a lot more endearing and a lot more drawing in for the listener.
Yeah.
I think she plays on that.
Especially if you've got a voice like that is
Yeah,
that holds
exactly.
like
Yeah.
Totally.
that.
She was never really keen on her voice, I think, was something I read, where she learned guitar for so long and played as a guitarist in a couple of bands, but it was only once she found her kind of tone and voice that it all kind of came to life.
But like going back to that, Charlie, all of these songs boiled down, they still are a guitar. It can be a guitar and a vocal.
Exactly.
There's not too. This is probably if you hear this album, I know there's 2 others on the album who we haven't spoken about yet. We haven't mentioned Ray Brown and Alex.
Alex, the bass player,
on
bass.
bass.
Unbelievable.
Alex bass on bass.
Alex-
It couldn't be any different.
You'd
couldn't-
have to be a bass player if you're Alex
would.
Bass.
Yeah.
I played bass and I had to bloody jar it into my email
Yeah,
address to
yeah.
make it look cool. Charlie Fowler Bass.
Yeah, you could hyphenate it. That could be your second surname.
Fowler Bass.
Fowler Bass.
Fowler bass, yeah.
But the songs on this album don't sound like they're more than probably a 4-piece. You won't lose a lot by being a 4-piece on the road, I think.
For sure.
And that plays back into the point I made earlier, or the thing that I brought in earlier, talking about how she takes them into the studio as a completed song,
Yeah.
and the band play on top. So in its essence, it is always and has been a one person, one guitar, guitar song.
You know, you're talking about endings on the last track.
Yeah.
Favorite ending of the album for me. It's so for a song that's it flows and just has it has such a definite ending. I thought it was so cool.
Oh, of course, because this is the doesn't make sense. and
Yeah.
It's like a snap ending. Yeah.
Boom.
Could
Really
have quite easily been a fade out.
Could have been a fade out.
Guys, how about a fade out?
And it's worth mentioning this song was initially on the Habit EP.
Yeah.
And after playing it live so much, after touring that EP for so long, they had a new sense of the song, playing it in big rooms, and kind of re-recorded it and put it on the album. They went into the album with a lot of songs completed and ready to record, but this was redone and brought in, which is
I don't think it suffers from that either. You've listened to
the other
EP?
version. Yeah.
Which is just that reiterates the point that was a guitar song with her on vocals. That was just her. There's not a lot. There's a slight adjustment in arrangement, I think. There's a little lead in intro. It might be a little bit faster, but apart from that, it's the same song but without a band, I think. But I think this is I prefer this. And actually having gone back and listened to that and watched them live, getting that sense of what they are as a band rather than just what they are as a project. They've got quite a few videos online that are before this album was released, and they're tight. They're such a good band.
They're a brilliant band. Yeah,
For me, they're better than they sound on the EP, which, that's great. That's good to hear. I mean, it's good when you are blown away by a band live, especially. But I think the difference between, like, the step up between that EP, moving through seeing them or seeing their live videos, I haven't seen them live, but seeing their live videos, into what has now become Lush, I think the transition is so strong and doesn't dilute anything.
No, and she's been given a lot more resources for this.
Yeah,
obviously the Habit EP was just a bedroom EP, almost put out through Sister Polygon Records, and then she signed with Matador, which was quite a competitive process.
Sure.
I heard there was a lot of labels trying to sign her at that time.
Yeah,
and at that point, she references that Matador was the right choice because they gave her almost full creative freedom and was just like, go and make the album that you want to make and let us know.
The dream.
And the dream, yeah. And so with that, she had the right resources to make the music she's always wanted to make. I feel like Sticky and Habit were kind of almost just the tapes to get her out there, and then this is her real first proud of body of work.
I'm not letting you get away with Sticky though.
Sticky was the first EP before Habit.
Oh shit! I thought you were just miss.
You think I've just thrown a miss?
Sticky.
No, she released an EP called Sticky, which was a few tracks.
Okay.
And she put it out herself, and I think it was re-released on cassette when she went on tour. And then she later took it down off the internet because she just mustn't have liked it anymore. But it's still out there to be found. So
I've just made myself look stupid, actually.
You've made yourself look very sticky.
Sorry.
You're in a sticky situation.
I'll go. Add some sound effects of me walking out of the room later on in post.
Yeah, I'll do it in post. Yeah,
Before we move on to track 6, though, I will just talk a little bit about the studio, because I did go on to this. I did look up the studio and just see what was going on there, and weighing that against Lindsay's opinion of the recording process is really good. So I went on their website. They're called, I've got them listed here somewhere. The Outlier Inn is what they're called. So that's in the Catskill Mountains in New York State, above New York City. Apparently, I've not been. So on their website, they name themselves as a retreat, recording and mixing facility where time, space, and inspiration are the most valuable pieces of gear.
Written by L. Ron Hubbard.
No, that's what I'll give them that. I agree. But in another interview, what she said about it, because I think she found this process quite difficult. She said, it was like this fake relaxing environment with a pond and animals and shit, and like trees and shit. So it was supposed to be relaxing, but I was going crazy, she tells me, laughing. I thought we were in purgatory, which I think was a stark contrast to what the Outlier Inn.
I wonder if the Outlier Inn have that in the testimonial section or on Yelp reviews.
Yeah, Yelp reviews.
Wow.
Loved the fake relaxing environment.
Relaxing environment.
Yeah, poor guys. They've probably put a lot of effort into that.
Big shift in there.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they were the first band that recorded in Studio A in there. I believe they were the maiden voyage.
The fact that it's an inn makes me think it was a hotel.
You can stay there. You
can
stay there through Airbnb.
They were like, no one ever paid for breakfast. Let's make that room into a studio.
We're on to a winner here, lads.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right then. Well, let's push on. This is track 6. Let's find it out.
Let's find it out. We'll start anew with the headlights in your eyes.
So apparently this is her favourite song on the album. And I'm with her. I loved it. I thought it was such a cool song.
It's your favourite?
Yeah. And it's funny that because I'm definitely a fan of like a traditional, what do you call it?
You tell me.
Traditional bloody sections of a song, like a verse, a chorus,
structure.
structure. That's the word. And I'm definitely a fan of that. Most of the songs I really love will be quite traditional in their structure. And this is pretty much 3 verses.
Yeah, it has structure, but she makes some interesting chord choices, and
Yeah.
she keeps it interesting.
But there's no chorus, is what I'm
No,
trying to say,
no.
basically.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting. But it also has, it's the first time we kind of hear harmonies, vocal harmonies, which is really
Oh, there's
cool.
some in this.
Yep.
Okay.
I also thought this is probably an absolute bastard to play live.
Yeah.
And I know she references in interviews that she's classically trained.
Yeah. It's on her bio as well. We'll get to her bio in a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think maybe it comes through pretty well on this tune.
I think she has, because obviously being classical trained doesn't mean that you're going to make classical music, but I think it gives you an understanding of the musical spectrum, so you can make some more interesting choices and have a deeper understanding. And she definitely shows that off, I think, every now and then.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel like in that sense as well, it pulled me away from the tight genre net that, you know, you could have put her in before. And I feel like this is stretched out somewhere different and it feels different and it doesn't feel like crystalline guitar pop, which is what she
describes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, and it goes against that conversational style. I think this song, like, even again, I've got the lyrics in front of me here because I'm awful with lyrics, so I need to read them. But it looks more like it's more poetic looking at this. It isn't. There isn't this big playing around with lots of different interesting sections, post choruses, chorus, bridge. It is literally those 3 verses, which look like they're 3 verses of a poem, I think. And there is more of that poetic, flowery language that isn't necessarily featured on a lot of the rest of the album, I think.
Yeah, I mean, one of the lyrics, what was it, first one, like June's glowing red?
Yeah.
It's a departure from...
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a lot more imagery rather than an insight to a conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is a really nice change of pace, but it is an odd... This is the 3rd single, which strikes me as an obscure choice, I think.
It is an obscure choice, and she could have made a different one and gone for something more commercially viable. But again, this probably feeds back into the trust that Matador Records has in her as an
Totally.
artist to be like, she's definitely chosen her singles, especially with what Charlie's saying about this being her favorite song on the project. I like the audacity of just being like, this is my favorite and this is the one I'm going to show to people.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny though? Because lyrically she's leaning away from what the album's kind of about in a way.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny that that's her favorite track? And
Yeah.
it's arguably...
One of the most different tracks
Yes.
to an unusual style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. That, yeah, and it sits like the order of the album is something that I know I can sense has had a lot of thought into it, and so she does intersperse these kind of off structure, off brand, if you will, songs between the kind of more obvious Snail Mail tracks,
Yeah.
and I think that's definitely a good creative decision. So just
For
as
sure.
you feel like you're getting really on board with the way she writes and the way she write songs, then you're kind of caught off guard by something like this, which is more poetic. And I like the way that happens. It keeps you from getting too bored by things.
Yeah.
The only thing that could have made it better for me was it should have been 513. It should have been 513.
513, yeah.
I was gutted.
Yeah.
It was near perfection.
The song itself is even though again we're still on relationships, it is referencing this idea of being on a tour. I know this because it is on the website, on her website. So she has got a bio, which again is quite different. Not a lot of artists have bios on their website.
They do. They normally put them on Spotify and stuff, but it's never something that's right in your
Yeah.
face like on the website like this
Yeah.
one is.
Is
If
it
it
on
was
the-
a song about being on tour, they should have called it Let's Find an Outback Steakhouse. Surely.
See ya.
God. Why aren't you using any? Thank you.
Or should it be this one?
Probably.
No, probably
Yeah,
not that
okay.
one. All right.
Either of them work.
two for
Either of
two
them
on
work.
terrible
Yeah,
jokes.
2 for 2. But it's about that, and you're always coming back a little bit older. I would have assumed it was about a time of the year when maybe we don't necessarily have them here, but in America you have like a summer camp. I imagined hearing this as she's returning to a place during a time
That's
and
cool.
seeing that same person every time, which is what it is. It is like when she's been on tour and she's bumping into the same people, and the relationships of that is what she's talking about.
She, speaking of going to summer camp, she did actually go to rock camp. Something called
she?
rock camp.
Rock
yeah.
camp.
Rock camp.
And they just go and clean a load of rocks.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I think they sleep on a load of rock.
Look at this rock. Play those goddamn crickets, Carl.
I just think they're neat.
Yeah. So there's that. Yeah. But yeah, the bio is really good. And it's well written. The font drives me nuts.
The
Yeah,
font's
the
awful, yeah.
font.
Yeah. But yeah, it is good. It's a good insight. And it's written in quite a descriptive way. It's good.
Yeah. So this is definitely a nice transitional piece, I think.
For sure.
I'll take it. It's not my favorite though. For it to be hers comes down low on the list for me. And it wouldn't be my single choice either. It probably wouldn't have been.
Yeah. But there is something.
I think I need to get a job at Matador Records.
Yeah, you did. This is it.
Dude, this is so me.
This is it. Well, obviously the decision worked. If we could argue that this is 1 and 3,
Yeah.
say that for the rest of
But let's go on to the next song, which is my single of choice. I
It
think
is.
probably, I don't know, maybe.
yeah, this could be one of my favorites on the album. But yeah, this is track 7. The song is called Golden Dream.
The surface of a frozen lake. Let in the black water, let it seep into my brain. God around your neck.
Okay, that was track 7, Golden Dream. Arguably, I think mine and Chris is one of our favorites on the album.
That's your third single, Carl.
Big time. It's brilliant.
I think, personally.
It's a kind of dream pop, shoegazy, just masterpiece in my eyes.
But
It's really
very
good.
traditional, probably quite similar to Pristine and Heatwave. So,
Yeah.
Do you want to put out 3 singles that are... Well, I mean, do you find this... Is this similar to Pristine and Heatwave?
I think so. It has
I
that.
think
Am
so.
I imagining it?
It has that
or-
big
No.
outro and all the kind of usual beats that she's hit in the other songs. So yeah.
It's a funny one. I thought this was like a tension release from the last couple of tracks. Being said, like it feels like major and uplifting, but the lyrics are pretty dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
quite
funny.
dark.
I was like, here we go, let's feel good. And then
Yeah.
it's like, oh shit.
Actually, what I noticed this just recently when I was going through those lyrics is there is a lot of talk about sleep and breathing and that sort of thing. But this is, I mean, if we're looking at thematics and things, especially early on here with that underwater thing, that does appear again as well in track 9,
And Deep Sea. Yeah.
Deep Sea, which I guess it's going to if it's called Deep Sea.
Well, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, she does have recurring themes.
Yeah. But this really does feel thematic at that point. I will say too, because it drove me mad, and all of this drives me mad. I know, especially Mike will be listening, and this drives him mad when I'm listening to songs. And I always hear other songs and other songs. It's not cool to do. It ruins songs for other people. I'm so sorry, but I will ruin songs.
Okay,
for
cool.
other
Yeah, ruin it for
people.
everyone, Chris.
No, I just think as soon as I heard this, Modern Man by Arcade Fire, I was like, there it is, straight away. I started singing along that song. So, dear listener, go and find Modern Man and ruin it for yourself.
And ruin this beautiful
please.
song.
But
She has been known to be a fan, right?
Yes, she has, Carl. And I will read a YouTube quote for you from
Okay.
someone on he says it here, a Tiny Desk concert video. It says, I knew Lindsay when she was doing Arcade Fire Suburbs covers.
Well,
and
there
that
you
song
go,
is from the
Chris.
Suburbs on YouTube and uploading them to Tumblr. I used to think she was so talented for her age. And at that time, she was only 13 or so. We would chat now and again about our love for Arcade Fire and such. So I think...
Maybe that was at rock camp in
I
between
think-
polishing
yeah.
rocks.
You've got some good ears on your boy.
I tell you what, it ruins it for everyone,
Yeah.
including me. It drives me mad, but
It's good though. It's good to be able to spot the influence.
Yeah.
that's bullshit. I would gladly give it up.
Yeah.
I don't know about you boys, but the section, I think it's like 2.5 minutes in, that like guitar strum section was the
Oh, yeah, the
one
outro,
for me.
yeah, it's brilliant.
God, it's good. It gave me that thought of like being at a gig with one of your mates and you know this song's coming and they don't know, maybe don't know the artist as well as you do, and you know this section's coming and you're looking at them the whole thing, like trying to get their eyes to be like, this bit,
Are you listening? Are you listening?
and they're like, what? And you're like, this bit coming right now.
And they're obviously they're checking their phone or something.
They're checking their phone. You're raging. They're like, do you want another drink? You're like, no,
No, not now. I'm just gonna go to the loo. No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just felt like this moment is one of those moments that you probably, when you hear this live, you go mad for. And I'm sure
Well,
people
then
go
but your
mad
mate
for it.
then goes, what, that bit?
Yeah.
That
What?
bit.
That was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. No, I don't like this song.
I don't like this
Chris
song.
was
You
too
brought
busy.
you brought me. I'm not into this band at all anyway.
Chris is way too busy on his phone, like right, Arcade Fire, right?
Yeah.
with a pair of headphones on.
Fuck, I've got my fingers in my ears going.
Oh,
My reference for this one was a song called "The Boy" by Smashing Pumpkins, which is an old B-side, which has a similar vibe. So I'll put that up against your.
Do you
Arcade.
There you
like
go.
the Do you like the Smashing Pumpkins, Carl?
Nah, they're all right.
Yeah, they're bloody one of your favourites, aren't they?
casual.
But yeah, big outro on that. Yeah.
Oh, the outro again,
killer.
killing the outro. Really,
Smashing it.
yeah. The song itself, I think, especially if it's going to be a single, you could paint a video on this easy. I
Oh,
reckon.
big time, yeah.
Easy, especially with that outro.
Again, playing that nostalgia card again, it
Yeah.
just gives me those constant throwback vibes. I love it.
Yeah, I will say in the realm of video making as well, because I did see her talk about this. She would like Kristen Stewart to direct a video for her. That was her thing. That's her shout.
Hopefully,
So-
she's a better director than she is actress.
See ya.
Sorry, Kristen.
See ya,
I'm sure you're great. I'm sure Twilight was not a good reference point for you.
I've never seen another film. I don't think I've ever seen a film with her in.
She's in so many famous films as a little girl.
She's playing a little girl.
As an adult.
Oh,
When they did,
Have
they
I got
cut
this
the-
wrong? Have
they
you got
cut
this
the-
wrong?
They cut the floor out and they get to stand in the
oh
aisle.
God's sake.
Kristen, darling, can you be a child?
I'm going to look it up and tell you after the next tune, and you're going to eat your words, you assholes.
This is track 8, Full Control. Okay, that was track 8, Full Control. Good song, I'd say.
Banger.
It was definitely not my favorite on the album, and if I had to organize the album in terms of favorites, this would be towards the bottom, but doesn't take anything away from it because it is actually a great song with a great chorus.
I'd say it's, I think you'd be forgiven to think that this was the song before, in a sense.
From to Golden Dream.
Yeah, I feel like back to back they had similar starts. They felt like they were going the same way. But I do think this is a really good song. It wasn't a favorite of mine either, if I'm honest.
I quite like it. It's up.
It's a grower.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like the I like what she does with the chord structure and stuff.
Yeah, it's constantly shifting. Although the vocal line follows a traditional verse bit, but it has loads more dynamics to the verse, chord changes, and yeah, it's interesting.
It's and then I think the stability of the chorus is a nice payoff.
Yeah, especially because it's such a rise.
Yeah,
There's
That's
a
a
bunch
fair
of
shout.
there's a lot of backing vocals and harmony in it as well.
It like grounds itself, and I actually I do really like the song. It's for me,
And it builds. The verse builds because it sounds like she does one line in a certain tone, almost monotone.
Yeah.
And then when she does a chord change, her voice goes up slightly in register.
Yeah.
And that happens all the way through the verse, leading to the chorus, which is a big leap in terms of vocal range. So yeah,
yeah.
it definitely has movement.
I tell you what line I like, and if you spill your guts, and I love the way she says it. If you spill your guts, just really just pushes it out real quick like that.
Spill your
That's
guts,
cool.
yeah.
Spill your guts, yeah. I just think, I think it's a cool song. I will stand by this song. I will not have it at the bottom of my list. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, you have been playing it on guitar in my house today.
There you
Clearly
go.
like it.
Did anyone see the article that she did with the New York Times? It was called Rock's Not Dead, It's Ruled by Women.
I didn't see that.
No, I didn't see
It's
it.
funny because obviously, this is a relationship album, isn't it, to a degree? And the quote that she said in it was, women are expected to write outside of relationships because it's deemed as being trivial and dumb. And some sad white boy can get up on the microphone and be like, I miss my girlfriend.
Yeah, it's true.
And I thought that's a fair,
100%.
fair comment.
It's a problem how women in music are definitely pigeonholed a lot. Pigeonholed into genre and things they can write about, generally catapulted into pop songs that are not written by them, and creativity is taken away in a big way. And I think she is very particular in how she is represented in the media, especially.
Yeah.
She doesn't want anyone referencing her age, her sexual preference, the fact that she's a woman.
Sure.
She's very much take me as an artist and take me as I am. Don't put me in with everyone else and don't pigeonhole me in girl bands, you know? And that definitely feeds into that. And I think it's something that she feels passionately about.
Fair bloody play.
I will say though that she does talk about this song being a particularly angry record, angry song on the record. She calls it pissy, and I think she says somewhere it gives no fucks on this, and it feels like that in the focus of the lyrics. I think,
Yeah.
compared to a lot of the songs that came before this, I feel like she's on the other end of. She's almost being the character that she's been addressing in a lot of the other songs.
Yeah.
She's in control. It's called Full Control, isn't it? For
Yeah.
fuck's sake.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. It definitely has has more of that. But the content of it and the way it's written is quite happy. It's another one of those, like Charlie referenced with Golden Dream. Although it's a happy on the face of it, it's quite dark. And in this one, happy on the face of it, but quite angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. She does also say in a different interview with someone, I think it was their first interview with an artist, I think. And she talks about hearing a particular line as, even when it's love, she hears Stephen Wentworth. And then...
Shout out
turns
to Stephen Wentworth.
Stephen, if you're out there, get in touch. your car's blocking in another car, in the car park. But she did sing Stephen in that. She does say that she sang Stephen
That's
in that
amazing.
in order to which is almost as bad as some of your trivia, Charlie. But
It's up there.
I mean, you're doing the numbers, I'm doing the words. But in that same interview, she does say she does invite the interviewer up on stage to play guitar during their gigs. So. And I assume it happened. So.
Yeah. I mean, if she did get up, she was probably out of her depth. Anyway, this is track number 9, Deep Sea.
No, you can't do that more than once.
Die, my love. Breathe in twos and fours. To know what's worth breathing for.
Track 9, Deep Sea.
Sorry to interrupt the podcast. You've all watched Panic Room, haven't you? Panic Room.
I have
the
seen
really
Panic
I
famous
haven't
film.
seen Panic
Yeah, I've
Room.
seen Panic Room.
Who's in that film?
Lindsay Jordan.
Oh, she is.
Kristen Stewart.
It is Kristen Stewart, isn't
Kristen,
it? She's,
really?
and
There you
she's,
go.
She's a girl. She's a small girl playing a small girl, isn't she?
She's a small girl playing a small girl.
well done. Well done. Are you,
Thanks,
pleased,
man.
are you pleased with yourself?
I wondered why you were looking
Welcome
at
to
your
the
phone. for so long.
podcast. Next up, Deep Sea.
Great. Good to know.
Thank you. We maybe watch that one tonight. We'll watch Panic Room tonight.
Yeah. Kristen, if you're out there, we're going to give you another chance.
I like that you're the arbiter of this.
Yeah, of course. I'm the gatekeeper of Kristen
the
Stewart's entire
gatekeeper.
career.
career.
Yeah.
So anyway, Deep Sea.
I love
Good
this
song.
I love
very,
this
very
track.
tranquil.
Yeah.
It is. It's like being on a boat, really, isn't it?
It is a bit like being on a boat. And she makes a lot of references to breathing again. And yeah, it definitely has some imagery.
Dark again. Dark imagery.
Yeah, dark.
She
Yeah.
drowning some
Drowning someone.
poor
Someone's
person?
drowning.
Someone's going under.
Someone's having a hard one.
And,
A
and,
hard one?
and like the reference to breathing in twos and fours, like that's
Oh,
a really,
yeah, yeah.
really
Very
good
cool.
line. Really good line.
One of my faves on the album.
Yeah.
A really cool line.
And she does
Die,
reference-
my love.
Die, my love. Yeah. Is that line 1, is it? Or is
That's line 1 of verse 2.
Yeah. Die, my love. Cool. All right.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yes, I will.
Yeah, I will. Just give me a minute. Let me just check if Kristen Stewart's in that.
This feels like the most lush.
Oh, I've had enough.
And that concludes this
I've had
episode.
enough.
Thank you for coming.
Lush song on the album though, doesn't it? That's
is
why she
very
chose the word lush for this album. She did because of the textural
Yeah.
quality.
Yeah.
Because she's in an interview where she says, I did also find out in England or she say maybe in Wales they use it as lush.
Charlie uses it on the
I
regular.
love that word.
Garrett lush.
Garrett Lash.
Bloody goat leg.
Garrett lush. But she does use it for reference to the textural quality.
Yeah, I put it in the same vein as Let's Find It Out.
This song.
Yeah, it had the drop in tempo. I felt like it felt more soundscapey.
We get into that time signature as well. don't
Yeah,
we?
the time
Yeah.
is a big swing to it.
Is
yeah.
that in? Let's find out. Is that in? It is. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Is this in 3/4? Is it a swing?
Yeah, I think it's 3/4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is quite swung. So it has a kind of waltzy feel to it, and
Exactly.
it definitely that contrasted with the idea of deep sea and the imagery, it's almost like the rocking of a boat. The timing is quite waltzy.
Oh, nice.
There you go. That's
Very
a
nice.
pretentious insight for you.
Yeah. But it was really welcome for me, this track, and like there was vocal harmony. I feel like everything was texturized way more. And I suppose that's very fitting with what it's all about, this tune and lyrical content, and like you know,
and the delivery, and she plays into her accent quite a lot in this one. You hear a lot more hard R's in some of the words she's saying. She definitely plays in to that quite a bit. But yeah, a good song.
I'm here fumbling through the artwork here, looking for James Richardson's name, because I will shout out that French horn on that song, man.
Oh yeah,
I love a good French horn.
James, if you're listening, you are blocking in the car that's blocking in the other car in the car park.
No, that French horn part, and there's another little guitar. I mean, this isn't a record that's got.
It's definitely got an EBO on it. I'm calling that.
Well, you can have the EBO.
You're calling flute, or
I'm calling. The EBO section. What song even is that? The EBO. We've talked about.
That's in this one.
No, it's not.
It's in Golden Dream.
Is it?
Yeah, I thought it was panpipes.
Okay.
Flute. Flautist.
Flugelhorn.
Flautist. is
Harmonica.
that. But this 100% is a French horn because it's listed in the album.
It
credits.
is listed. I am looking at it. Album artwork by Mike Zimmerman. It says designed by Mike Zimmerman.
Bob Dylan's son,
Third cousin, I think.
probably.
Ah. I did love this song though. I really enjoyed this song.
It is nice. I do enjoy a departure from the sparseness and going right in on the warmth of that
Yeah.
instrumentation and stuff like that.
Here's a question for you. I got to the end of the song knowing that the next song was obviously the last song on the album, and I was hoping for something that kind of meshed these two different feelings together, the kind of faster tempo track she has, the Pristines and everything, and then your deep seas and Let's Find It Out. I was hoping for like a hybrid of those two to round out the album.
Yeah.
And we all know what comes next. And I wasn't surprised, but I was kind of, I don't know.
You were left hankering.
I was.
How long did it take
You were left anchoring.
Oh.
And this is the final track on the album. This is track 10, Anytime.
And the passing faces feel the same, though you've got so much to do. In the end, you could waste your
That anchoring joke didn't make sense anyway. Let's not do any more of those.
Yeah? Had enough
It
of
didn't
terrible
make any
jokes?
sense.
All right. Well, you rarely do.
God, I'm so embarrassed.
I know. Sorry, everyone listening, especially Kristen Stewart.
Thank goodness we're at the end.
So, track 10, that was Anytime. How long did it take you, my question, to realize that was the intro, essentially?
Oh, days.
Days.
No,
Yeah.
actually, a few listens of the album, because I was listening on it as a background listen.
Yeah.
But when it came around, I was like, God, this sounds familiar. I wonder why. I have no idea why. But a few listens through of the album,
I think you'd be forgiven. And I suppose that a lot of the premise of this podcast even is that you listen to it as a piece of work.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily going to be skipping through this. And yeah, it took
And
me-
there's so much that happens in between those two songs that you can almost
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. If you were listening to the album and when it got to the end it started again, that's when you'd notice from
Yeah.
track 10 to track 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good. I think it's nice. I wonder chicken and the egg style, which came first, whether the intro was how it was originally and track 10 is the polished version, or whether they had this song and was like, this will be a good way to start the album to set the scene. I don't know.
I think it's a good song. I think it's a strong song. I'd be surprised if this came out of a short and it sounds like it has more agency than that to me.
Do you think on a observational basis that having the intro reprise the last song on the album cheapens the last song on the album? Do you find that
No.
you take it less seriously?
No, not at all.
So you don't consider
Opposite.
it almost an outro where it's kind of disposable?
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all. I think it's clever. I've been playing around with the idea of why anyone would choose to do that anyway. Because when you get to this point, I know I said during the intro about the differences and stuff like that, but this feels like a more mature version of that song.
Yeah.
Just, I guess it's bound to, because it's more fleshed out, has more, it has more body to it. But opposing that, so we've got that level of maturity. In opposition to that, when you're through an album and you get to this point where the lyrical content has now gone back to the I love yous, because I know that she does talk about this somewhere. She describes it. Please bear with me here.
Yeah, I think whilst you seek out that point, in fact, did you find it?
You know, I've got
Oh,
it. I've got it. So she's talking about full control at first, and she says that is pissy. Whereas any time in particular is like, I love you. I'm crying, writing it passionately about this one person, and saying, you suck, I hate you, but at the end of the day, I totally love you. So like this unconditional love, no matter what happens, you've still got my love, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that is such an interesting thing to think about at the end of a record that feels like maturity, but you know, it has anything ultimately. Has you learned anything throughout the course of this
That's the
album?
consideration. I think that's a good point to make, is that this is a bookend at the end of the album, and assuming that what I read was correct in that each song was written potentially about a different person, this would be a collection of her life so far in terms of relationships.
Yeah.
And the last song is almost, has she learned anything after all of this has happened?
It's definitely like one of my GCSE science papers. And it's like I did my, you know how you always have like your conclusion at the end that you draw and you underline, you'd be like, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
And I start writing like, this experiment was good because of this and the other. Then I'd be like, fuck, haven't actually learned anything.
I've not learned a thing.
Yeah.
I've not learned a
it's
thing.
funny,
But
isn't it?
it was
'Cause
always said to you in those lessons that even if you didn't learn anything, the experiment was worth carrying out.
Is that what they say?
I think so. Or if you didn't prove anything.
I didn't have a teacher that good. I don't think.
Yeah.
He was like, you bloody idiot.
Yeah. I think,
Boy, get out in the hallway, boy. Tuck your belt in.
Yeah,
or something.
something like that.
But yeah, good track.
Yeah, it's interesting though, isn't it? That's the conclusion to the album, but like you say, it doesn't necessarily conclude.
No, well, that's the circular aspect of it.
Yeah.
Is some films do that where they begin again, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, okay, so this works in a big circle.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to do.
That's
Interesting
That's a
thing to
cool idea and a theme, like the fact that it is circular. Like you can,
I mean, I probably wouldn't do all of the other songs again after this, and then
Just keep remaking them forever.
Yeah,
Infinite
Also,
version.
it's like bringing them down a key and making them more lush and lush and lush and richer. But it's definitely an interesting concept.
Yeah.
And I will stand by it. I think it's a decent thing to do.
Yeah.
More people should be doing it.
Yeah, it's like when a TV show has the intro
Yeah.
and then a kind of alternate version at the end.
Yeah.
This is that in reverse. It's almost a nice, gentle putting to bed after a long and emotional
Definitely a
journey.
good way to end the album though, and not like that gentle ease out of the album is nice.
Yeah, gently put to bed. Well done, Lindsay.
well done, Lindsay.
It's a really good album.
You feel
It's
sad
really
after this or not? Is it?
In general, like I say, I keep referring to like the nostalgic element of it.
Yeah.
To me, I definitely have a lot of that. I enjoy wallowing in the possible sadness of nostalgia.
I mean, she
yeah.
talks about Elliott Smith a lot, and if you want to go and wallow, go and listen to Elliott Smith. I say so.
Yeah.
But I think there's a positive, there's a happy melancholy in this song, maybe.
Yeah, well, melancholy is in that kind of in itself a kind of happy sadness, something that makes you feel a certain way. And so, yeah, I definitely got elements of sadness to it, but in a way that makes you look back in a happy way.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm totally with you on that same feeling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if I just drag one more quote in just as we're finishing up, I
Please
guess?
do, yeah.
Let's hear it. man.
Because it's useful now that we are on episode 1 of a podcast of critical evaluation of other people's work. I just thought this was a wonderful thing to realize, I guess, or to mull over. So this was from Mitski. So Lindsay is addressing a tweet that Mitski had posted. So Mitski is one of our idols that are still writing now. I think they released, or she released, in the same year as Lush in 2018. So the original tweet read, "I've received a little too much attention for people's liking lately. As with all art, I'd love if you got something out of mine, but if you didn't, that's okay. It's not for you. I'm grateful either way for this job. I'll keep working to earn the lucky position I'm in. I don't take it for granted." And what Lindsay got from that was, it actually kind of gave me some self-assurance last night when I read that. I was like, okay, people also hate something that I consider to be incredible. And I think that's a decent thing to take on board.
That's very cool.
It's a good way to prep yourself for inevitable criticism.
Yeah. And it's completely true. You could make something that you deem to be really, really quite special, and lots of people will shit on it, and fuck them if they do.
Yeah.
Because it's not for them.
And we live in a world now which is way more accessible in terms of music. If you're a creator or an artist, you can get your music out way easier than you could in the past. And so you have the creative freedom to be more outside of your box, which is good. It's a good time for music, although it's competitive, and although there's a lot of bad music I would consider taking over the mainstream, there's a lot of good. And I think with it being so accessible, we have a lot more chance of people like Lindsay breaking out and getting into our ears.
Sure.
For sure. Good choice, Carl. Very good choice.
For week one, that is a solid selection there. I think.
It's a good album. I do love it. I love it a lot. And I know she's been writing and is currently writing / recording. So hopefully we might see a new project maybe this year.
There was a single out, I think, 2019 now, I think. So maybe something will be on the way.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see. And definitely now knowing more about that album for sure.
Yeah.
Don't know if I would have got to that, and I'm chuffed that I did.
Well, I'm glad we
Well
all
said.
did, yeah.
Pristine would make it onto a playlist of top songs for sure.
Yeah. Great.
So if at the very least, I'm happy with that.
Cool. Shout out Snail Mail. And then, Chris, you'll be choosing next week's album.
I have
If
already
you'd like
chosen next week's album.
If you'd like to announce that
I
to
will.
the people.
So this is one that that I really enjoyed growing up, actually, and I haven't listened to in a good few years. And it's "Mean Everything to Nothing" by Manchester Orchestra,
Okay.
a band I really like. Do you?
Very cool. I'm not aware of that album.
I've had a couple of songs, maybe Max, but never gone into a.
Not from Manchester. They're an American band.
Jeepers.
But that'll be next week. I can't wait. They're an amazing band. I adore that band. So
Great. Look forward to it. So everyone who's listening, if you want to go away, listen to that album. Please do if you can afford to buy it from Bandcamp or iTunes or wherever you can get access to their music. It means a lot to the band and the artist in a world where music is becoming less and less of a profitable endeavor and more of a creative and less fruitful endeavor. It means the world to artists, and I think we should all do our best to support that.
for sure.
And yeah, I guess that kind of wraps us up. Any kind of closing remarks before we ride out?
No, I'd just say if any of you enjoyed the podcast, however you heard about this first episode, I don't know whether you're listening to this relatively recent to when we recorded it or further down the line, any reviews, comments are appreciated.
Yeah,
we'd
please
love
leave-
we'd love this to be a podcast that really reacts with those that listen. We want you to be on board. This is a sort of a music club of sorts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want to collaborate as much with you guys, offering any kind of insights you want, and we'll read them out and talk about them and make you part of the conversation.
Yeah.
If you want this to be a numbers-based podcast, let me know. I'm
Yeah.
happy to take it over.
Yeah.
I'll take one. I'll take one statistic now, if you don't mind. How many listeners do we have right now on episode 1?
How many comments in the comment section, Josh?
Let's find out. It's looking bloody bleak out there.
It's a barren wasteland out there.
Any voicemails?
I'll check those as well. Let me dial it up a minute.
No, maybe next week. It'll be all right.
Maybe next week. Can't be full next week.
Okay, then, cool. Well, yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. Come back to the next episode where we'll be looking at...
Manchester Orchestras mean everything to nothing.
Thank you and goodbye.
See you later.
Cheers and go.
Thanks for listening to Between the Tracks, a book club but for music. Written, produced and presented by Carl Lewis, Chris Bunt and Charlie Fowler. Intro and outro music by Ross Chapman and Samson Jatto. Artwork by Jim Hurd at Twin Fin Design Co. Thanks to our friends at Sennheiser for the support. If you've enjoyed this album and can afford to buy it directly from the artist, links have been added to our website.